A few weeks ago, I began a new project, building a model of an old letterpress from the early 1900s. In the last episode, I put my design to the test and built a model out of foam core. This taught me a lot. Now, I'm ready to start building this thing out of metal. But first, let me answer a question I got in the last video. Why do you put all your time and effort into buying an old letterpress and fixing it up? It's a good question. First, I don't have room. I'd need something small and compact, but all the tabletop letterpresses out there seem like they'd be too small. I really want a sort of 3/4 size machine, if that makes sense. Second, I'm looking for a challenge. Reverse engineering a machine from over 100 years ago seemed like something that would teach me a lot. And building it in real life would teach me even more. So, here we are. I've already learned a ton from making this prototype, and I feel like it's time to actually start building this thing for real. I'm going to begin this process by fabricating the two side frames. The side frames are incredibly important pieces that will hold many of the sub-assemblies into place in the machine later on. While the side frames will end up being quite complicated, I'm going to be focusing on a few of the most critical holes in each first. These are the plates I'll be using to make the side frames. Each is 16 inches by 16 inches and 1/4 inch thick. Off camera, I've redrawn both side plates in CAD. I'm going to be working from these drawings as I fabricate these pieces. I'll begin by doing some layout. I'm going to use my calipers to mark the center locations of all the holes. I need to be sure that both plates have all these features I just marked in exactly the same place. To ensure this, I'm going to attach both plates together and machine all the features in both plates at the same time. And now, it's time for the mill. I'll stack up a few 1, 2, 3 blocks to offset the plate from the table. To ensure that the plates don't move, I'll affix them to the mill with these T-slot clamps. I need to make sure this plate is square, so I'll check it with a dial indicator. And I'll make the necessary adjustments to make it square. With all the setup out of the way, it's time to make the first cut. I'm going to square out the bottom edge with an end mill. I'm doing this cut on the back of the piece because it's the only way I could get this operation to work on my mill. Now, I'll locate the edge I just machined. The first feature I'll make is this hole. It's for the shaft that anchors the bed to the main frame. I'll begin by center drilling its position. Next, I'll enlarge the hole with a larger drill. Then, to get to the end size, I'll use my new boring head. This is a fancy tool for drilling arbitrary size holes on the mill. It takes boring bars, the same kind of thing you'd use on the lathe, and slowly carves away the inside of the hole. More importantly, this is not a tool I'm all that familiar with yet. I'm sort of learning as I go. Eventually, I reached the size I needed, and the bearing fit in perfectly. The other holes were pretty similar. After all the features were complete, I could pull off the material and inspect my work. As a final finishing step, I deburred all the holes. These side plates came out pretty well. Okay, with all the holes bored, it's time to cut the outside profile of each side plate. I've been putting off doing this for a while, because for the life of me, I just can't figure out a good way to do it. Everything that comes to mind requires an expensive tool I don't have. And after buying that boring head, my pockets are feeling a little bit light. I was looking for a creative solution, but I couldn't think of one, so I bought another tool. Let me introduce you to the Portaband. This miniature bandsaw eats metal for breakfast. I've got it mounted in my vise so I can cut these plates. I've got a cord plugged into the wall that goes down to a foot pedal. Then the tool is plugged into the pedal, and I've ensured the trigger is permanently depressed with a clamp. In this configuration, whenever I press the foot pedal, the tool will turn on. Lastly, I'm going to make a piece to span in between the side plates. This part will have a shoulder that interfaces with a hole in each side plate, and once installed, the press will stand upright. This part starts life as some 1-inch steel round. I'll get it set up on the 4-jaw chuck in the lathe for turning. The first feature I'll make is that shoulder I was talking about. Next, I'll swap the live center with a drill chuck and bore a center hole. I'll use this to lock the part in place later on. This setup really was not ideal. My part is sticking out quite a lot, and because I can't use a center and I don't have a steady rest, there's not really much I can do about it. Luckily, the perpendicularity and exact size of this hole is not critical. Now I'll tap the hole. Off camera, I'll duplicate this work and make the same features on the other side. And that's all there is to this part. While I'm here, I'll also turn up some end caps. Each will be made from a small piece of that same bar stock. I'll drill a hole down the center for a fastener. And add a counter bore so the head has a place to go. Okay, all the parts are done. Let's assemble what we have so far. There's one part here I didn't film making, the bed frames. The process was very similar to the side plates. I laid each out, I milled a few reference faces, I bored some holes, and I rough cut each on the bandsaw. Enough talking, let's assemble this thing. Here's the letterpress so far. There's a long way still to go, but I'm definitely starting to see the pieces come together. One thing I want to call out. I cleaned up all the straight edges on the mill, but I wasn't yet able to touch the curved ones. I've got a tool on the way to help me clean these up, and I'll do this next time. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear what you think about the project so far in the comments below. See you later!